My name is Betsy Pearson, owner of A-Town Event Production, and I have been given this opportunity to produce a 20-minute documentary showcasing the contributions and evolution of Black citizens in Anderson and Madison County. 20 minutes is not nearly enough time to give a full account of Black history in Anderson and Madison County and to fully delve into the importance of our contributions. However, I do hope that within this small window, you will hear the names and see the pictures of some of our community's forefathers and foremothers that made great strides within our community. You may even hear the names and see pictures of some of your own relatives. So many Black citizens played such important and pivotal roles in the building of our community. We hope you enjoy looking through this window.
My grandfather on my dad's side was Reverend Jesse Weatherly. They migrated to Anderson. The year I'm not exactly sure of, but I am willing to say that it was probably around 1912. My mother didn't work, but she was the first in many, many areas, primarily the social world. She was a member of the Phyllis Wheatley Club, Missionary Society of the Church. She was the best fundraiser in Anderson, and that's where I got my fundraising talents from, my mom. Moving on to my brothers, Ike and Charles. Ike was a member of the 46th basketball team of Anderson High School. He directed the boys club, and they received many, many accolades from the communities in terms of young Black men. He was a very positive role model for them. Now, my brother Charles, he did everything that was possible. Probably for him, the most rewarding of his adventures would have been Weatherly tours. My nursing career started in 1954. My sister Pat was also a nurse, and I kind of followed in her footsteps.
There are many first-time events that our community is proud of. It is documented that the first Black family to settle in Anderson was the Monroe Williams family, who resided at 10th and Chase Streets. The exact date is not recorded, but it is believed to be in the mid-1800s. The first Black person to own an automobile in Anderson, Madison County was John Wooten. Mr. Wooten also established and owned the first Black-owned grocery store in 1922. It was located at 1415 Madison Avenue. The first Black police detective, Ike Weatherly, led to Stan Young as the first Black assistant police chief in 2008, and ultimately Norman Rayford and Warren to hold the positions that they have achieved today. Houston Broadnax, Raymond Wilson, Charles Weatherly, Haynes Harrington, and Lucius Teague. These police officers, in the face of adversity, joined and served our community through their service with the Anderson Police Department. Community service among the minority community has been great through the years. That is shown through the many members of the Anderson Fire Department. These are some of the individuals that put their lives on the line every day to serve our community. Amos Cooley paved the way for Philip Rogers to become the first Black fire chief. Joseph Smith, a World War I veteran, but most notably a lifelong resident of Alexandria. The city of Alexandria felt the importance of Joseph Smith's existence should not go unnoticed, as exhibited here. William Bill Walker was an actor and activist. He was born in Madison County and graduated from Pendleton Heights High School in 1915. He served in the all-Black 92nd Division in World War I. Mr. Walker performed on Broadway in the 1920s and 30s and became a character actor in film and television for over 40 years. Bill Walker joined and elevated himself to a position on the board of directors of the Screen Actors Guild. Bill Walker died in 1992 with more than 100 films and television shows to his credit. Anderson, Madison County is rich in its religious history. The first Black church was New Hope Methodist Church that was founded in 1880. Those early services were held at the home of Mrs. Frances Terry. The second Black church founded in Anderson was Second Missionary Baptist Church and was founded in 1889. 1892 brought the founding of Sherman Street Church of God and Allen Chapel AME Church. Dr. Lee Myers was the first Black physician to practice medicine in Anderson in 1919. Dr. Alvin Bridges started his practice at 1302 Madison Avenue in 1954. Matilda Barber began a 27-year career with St. John's Hospital in 1964 as a medical surgical nursing instructor with Holy Cross School of Nursing. She continues to be actively involved with the Black Nurses Association.
Hello, Kim.
Hello.
It's nice to see you sitting here with me today. Who would have thought that two Black women could have led Anderson into the resolution of housing problems in our city?
Amen. Yes.
I'm very grateful that I have someone in my presence who followed me and is doing an exemplary job with the Housing Authority today.
Thank you.
There were no housing programs in Anderson prior to 1974. So under Mayor Robert Rock, the Housing Authority commissioners were established under the Anderson Housing Authority. And Mayor Rock approached me about possibly looking into my interest in doing a housing program. There were no housing programs, as I stated before. So that's how I took my seat in community development. So the Housing Authority issued their first certificate in 1975 to a little lady that lived on Chestnut Street in Anderson, Indiana.
On my 20th year anniversary with the city, it was the day that the Anderson Housing Authority appointed me as their next executive director. I wanted to try to link in other opportunities for the residents and to restore those properties back to their beauty that they were when Miss Weatherly was there as the director. I wanted to protect that legacy because of the great need for housing and to help the residents move from dependency to self-sufficiency.
I think that the WPA had a big impact on the total city of Anderson. My grandfathers, both of them, and my father all worked with the WPA. We had James Warren Bailey, who was a trailblazer and historian for the city of Anderson Black community. There were so many. The Pattersons, Will Patterson and his family were so instrumental in the foundation of Anderson. New York is where I first had my experience with civil rights. In 1964, the Medical Committee for Human Rights was organized in New York. My sister and I drew straws to see who would go to the South, primarily Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama. Pat would come from Jackson, Mississippi to Selma, Alabama. And while she was in Selma, she lived, or stayed, I should say, in the home of Sullivan Jackson. Sullivan Jackson, as most people know, had a home in Selma where Martin Luther King and his entourage would come and stay. Sullivan Jackson was a product of Anderson, Indiana. Very few people know that. He was the son of Amos Jackson. Amos Jackson was one of the first political activists in Anderson, along with my dad and Ike Parker. They had many others fighting here in Anderson for equal opportunity to exist. They were the trailblazers that we followed.
And my father had received a position during the same time that Shirley's been talking about, the passing of the civil rights laws and the implementation of of all the things that are in the civil rights laws for this community. And he was appointed under Robert Rock, as the Director of Affirmative Action. Just him taking on a lot of issues when it came to job discrimination, school segregation, and those type of issues.
Billy was one of those trailblazers.
Those are the names I heard at the table.
Yes.
Thorns, Gibbs.
Yes. Yes.
Drake.
Right.
Ben Floyd.
And Frank Taylor.
Frank Taylor, yes. And Rosetta Minifield and
so many more.
And you
So
know,
many
I mean,
more.
yeah, just
So
yes.
many more.
Yes.
The Urban League and the NAACP were just an everyday occurrence in my life growing up. We relied on the Urban League, which was actually officed in the West Side Community Center. There were activities for all ages. Parents were very, very involved with their children at that time. The Urban League itself provided the opportunity for better housing and jobs at that time. The community played a vital role in the Urban League and NAACP because the boards were made of local and very energetic and wanting more for their community, for their children.
Mm-hmm.
It was a happening throughout the community. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody depended on everybody. And it was just a wonderful period of growth for Black youth and adults.
I wouldn't be here today in this position. And that you said yes to Robert Rock, that you would do this. The work you've done is phenomenal. And I want to continue to expound upon it so that it's not lost.
Thank you.
The Negro Welfare Program was introduced on May 17, 1938. Through this program, the Colored Community Center was built on 14th Street. It was later renamed after William G. Geter, who was also a community advocate and activist. The swimming pool was added to the Colored Community Center several years after. There were many Black-owned businesses in Anderson, Madison County in the early years. These are some of the Black-owned businesses that populated the West Side community in abundance. The Blakemore brothers were very prominent business owners. They owned a blacksmith shop for over 45 years. The shop was primarily run by Peter J. Blakemore, who later served as city commissioner from 1905 to 1907. His brother, Marcus P. Blakemore, and I'm proud to say my grandfather, owned an electrical shop and later drew the architect design for the original Second Missionary Baptist Church that was located on Short Sherman Street behind what is now known as the Impact Center. Jess Johnson, who was prolific in the real estate business, was the first Black to be elected to the Madison County Chamber of Commerce. Anderson, Madison County has a history of a very active social environment. Two of the most active female social clubs were the Phyllis Wheatley Club that was founded in 1907 and the Ladies Culture Club that was founded in 1904. There were also many fraternal organizations. The Boys and Girls Clubs were instrumental in providing positive programming and influences for Black youth under the watchful eye of Willie Turner, Robert Bobby Davis, and John Bostic. Education has always been important to our community. The first Black administrators for Anderson Community School Corporation made great strides in the education that was provided to our community. Honorable mention goes to Lillian Givens and Zora Finner, who were instrumental in education and paving the way for others. Of course, there were so many others that gave their time and service to the young people of our community as well. You may not have known there was also a Black-owned newspaper in Anderson, Madison County. The name of the paper was The Shining Star and was established in March of 1922. Lisa Richardson was the first Black editor for the Anderson Herald Bulletin. In 1915, and prior to the establishment of The Shining Star, the Anderson Herald Bulletin ran a weekly page titled Colored Circles. Early columnists for the Shining Star were Anna Catherine Bailey in 1951, Rowena LaRue in 1953, and Madeline Irwin in 1959. Anderson has been honored by several famous individuals: Jesse Jackson, Barack Obama, John F. Kennedy, Pancho Villa, and Frederick Douglass. We cannot talk about Anderson and Madison County without mentioning some of the individuals that helped form our political machine. To name a few: Bill Raymore, Ollie Dixon, John Gardner, John Bostic, Charles Weatherly, Odell Thorns, Mildred Powell, Anita Price, Hazel Minifield, Ruth Warfield, and Billy Page. There are many individuals in Anderson and Madison County that have played so very important roles in the building of our city and specifically our community. George Satterwhite and Anthony Malone were instrumental in providing Anderson with its first medical health care center located on Ohio Avenue, the Madison County Community Health Center. The facility, now operating as Meridian Health Center, is still assisting the population of Anderson. Rosetta Minifield was also instrumental in this endeavor and also served as an officer on the board of directors. Anita Price was a promoter of people, specifically women. Mrs. Price was elected to the National YWCA's board of directors and was the first Black woman to reach that achievement. We must also mention the past executive directors of the Madison County Urban League: Bill Harper, Anthony Malone, and Bill Raymore. And of course, we cannot forget the important role the NAACP played in our community under the leadership of Bill Harper, James Burgess, and the current president, Larry McClendon. Sports have always played a major role in our community. Local basketball legend Jumpin' Johnny Wilson led Anderson High School to a state championship in 1946. He and his childhood friend, Carl Erskine, played basketball together in the late 1930s at Shadeland School. In 2016, a sculpture was revealed titled "For Reaching Goals" in front of the Anderson High School. The two remained best friends throughout their professional sporting careers and up until Johnny's passing in 2019. We, of course, cannot forget Bobby Wilkerson and Rayleigh Talbert that played for the NBA, and Ken Johnson that played for the NFL. Ken also played a pivotal role in the success of the Wilson's Boys Club in Anderson. Anderson-Madison County's history relating to music is huge. The Indiana Travelers, the Heavenly Five, the Allison and Calvin Band, the Benny Patterson Band, Luttrell Dixon, Pat Raymore, and her entire family. Many of these Anderson residents are still entertaining today to the delight of our community.
You know, when people think of our family, they automatically default to music. Mm-hmm. My mother, she received what is called Gospel Legends. It was presented at the Madam C.J. Walker building just for her work that spanned probably 60 years in gospel music. She discovered talent in little Peanut Warner, little James Warner, because she was helping teach music classes at Shadeland School. And so she discovered that little Peanut had talent, and he went on to really have a big impact in the quartet and still today with his family, the Warners and the Reeses, and that were involved in the Indiana Travelers. The community choir was formed, I'm thinking, around 1977. The city brought Reverend Jesse Jackson to Anderson, and he was doing the Push Excel and a lot of different programs at that time. So my mother was tapped to form a choir to perform, and she put together almost 150 voice community choir that is still active today. And this choir performed there, and it just became a regular staple for Anderson.
I hope you have enjoyed this presentation. I hope you have seen individuals that you grew up with and respected. I hope you will be motivated to share stories of your own family's history with your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. I hope this presentation will help instill a renewed pride in our community's history. Knowing and understanding where we came from will make a clear path to our future.